Hi, everybody. My name is Irma, and I'm the founder and CEO of Cafecito. We are a platform that curates serendipitous connections between individuals and organizations. And for the community side of our product, we actually run these coffee side chats. We bring in members and experts from all over the world to share their stories and what they've learned along the way in their journey as a founder, as an entrepreneur, as somebody in tech, and really share their challenges and advice with us. So today we have Magdalena here with us, and she is an expert of all things OKR, and she's working on an amazing product right now called Heron, which we'll be talking about today. But before we dive into anything, how are you doing today? How's your morning going?
Good. I'm having one of those late mornings, so which I try to be okay with. It's like I needed the sleep. It's all fine,
Yes.
but I'm in a good mood, and I'm so happy to be with you.
Awesome. Super excited to be here with you too, and really just excited to dive in. So we'll go ahead and just get started with, what does your background look like? Where are you originally from? Like, how did you get to kind of like where you are today and what you're working on?
Yeah, my background looks very random. So, so I'm originally from Argentina, from the countryside of Argentina, and I came to the US when I was 17 with my family when Argentina had this big economic crisis. And then that started my path through college, grad school, and stuff. I studied linguistics, which is super random. Like my thesis was on an indigenous language in Peru. And from there, I went on to work at Google in a legal operations department. So again, something that seemed so unrelated,
Mhm.
but I was there for 9 years, and I led a team in Europe, and then the last 4 years I was managing a global team there. So after 9 years of Google, I left and I moved to Miami, truly without knowing what to do, because I was like linguistics and legal operations, and now what? And this is how that lands me into OKRs, because I moved to Miami, and OKRs, for people that don't know, is objectives and key results, and it's the way that Google and many companies think about execution. So I show up to Miami not knowing what to do. And I think Miami really needs OKRs urgently. So I started teaching OKRs. And that was 2.5 years ago. And that led into a path of me working with OKRs and creating Hello Heron and all of that, which happened organically. You know how people like to think, oh, I had this plan. I'm like, no, things happened and I follow them.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of fell into organically, you fell into where you kind of probably were supposed to be, right? Like you seem
Yes.
very like passionate about OKRs and how they help us self personally in terms of managing ourselves and then also managing our projects and what we're working on. So I think it seems like it all worked out in the way that it probably would have anyway. And then you mentioned that you moved from the West Coast to Miami. How's that transition been for you? And has that sort of like, opened up more doors for you in terms of helping more folks locally with OKRs and just managing projects, goals, things like that?
It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful. And in a way, Miami, it's a smaller place, but it's also a more connected
Yeah.
place. So you can show up to Miami, and the tech community is thriving, but like people will introduce you to anyone you want to know, and it's very diverse. So I never came to stay, when I moved here, I went to a tech event and I could see women of color
Mm-hmm.
in a stage in front of hundreds of people, and I was like, I still get goosebumps, because
Yeah.
I was like, this is the place where I belong. I can do things here, right? But then the other thing, so there was a change in place and moving to a more, what felt to me, a place where it was easier for me to belong. The other thing was that I was exposed, sort of, I was in a different place, going from managing a global team to managing
Right.
myself,
Yeah.
which was a completely different experience. And I started having friends and knowing people that also were in a different place, right? They were small business owners, or they were on their first startup, or they were like doing 3 jobs at the same time. So my social environment changed and became more diverse.
Yeah.
Um, and and this is where it was a lot of tying the dots between, okay, I was like, the way of thinking at Google can be helpful to anyone.
Right. Yeah.
You can be a real estate agent
Yeah.
and have OKRs
So
and
true.
grow 10x, right?
Yeah.
And this is what helped me connect the dots of like making that way of thinking accessible to just anyone. And this is a little bit like Hello Heron is born.
Right. Yes. And two kind of things that I did want to mention, kind of like on what you're touching on. I think one, even myself being from Miami, like totally agree. I think like I grew up around so much diversity in the city, and even when I went into tech events and things like that, like I know Iron Hack used to have a ton of events. They probably still do, but being in a room with like 100 other women of color, like insane, super cool. Like we're all trying to learn how to code and like getting our first projects out there. So like that's amazing, and thank you for bringing that up, because I think it's a thing of maybe something that we don't talk about enough in terms of like what Miami has to offer sometimes in the tech ecosystem, is like that community of a really strong, amazing, like diverse people. And I think second to that, I think with OKRs, unfortunately, I think it's not a very common topic to talk about either. I think the first time I heard about OKRs was at my job like a few years ago, because I was a product manager. Before that, had never heard about OKRs. I had heard about goals and having a vision and things like that, and milestones, but like never like the system of OKRs. I know Google Ventures is kind of the one that wrote about it and actually like that's when it started to catch on in a way, right, with other companies. Is that kind of like that exposure, do you think that needs to be sort of like do we need more of that, right? Do we need more people like you to sort of say like, hey, you can actually use this is the thing that you can use a framework to help, right, get you more along in your objectives and make more progress in where you're going?
Yeah, we tend to think of being underprivileged usually as not having resources, which is often true. But sometimes being underprivileged is like not knowing the right stuff. And knowledge is free, right? It's free. So yeah, I think that Google credits OKRs for helping it grow 10x.
Makes sense.
And the same way of thinking can be used by anyone. It's like available. And this is a little bit of what happened in Miami, is that I moved to Miami and all I keep hearing is like, yeah, we have a diverse, there are so many things that are special about Miami, but we don't have the VC money that Silicon Valley has, which by the way is changing.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, but there's some things that Silicon Valley has that are free, like the way that they think about their products. So let me teach you about OKRs. And this is what got me into this path. But the same thing is useful to anyone. And with Heron, I've been like for over a year now, I've been teaching it to like small business owners. Their businesses are growing faster than mine, which I'm like, okay, this is good. So I really think it can be useful to anyone. And we all should have access to the best thinking. And the best thinking is simple.
Yep.
It's not something complex. It's always things that work are simple.
Yeah. We don't have to be scared of it. It's just a matter of going through it, reading it, and then doing the thing. So can you talk? I love to talk more about Hello Heron, and when you describe it, how do you describe it to people? How do you like talk about what Hello Heron is, and how does it help the end user?
Yeah, I'm learning that now, right? What is the right way of talking about the product? I'm very much at the beginning of the journey. But so it is an accountability platform for people that work on their own. And what it gives you is that it gives you structure. And by that, I mean the OKRs. Really, you're allowed to have one objective for 3 months. So a lot of focus. So it gives you the structure, the thinking, but then it matches with that the human element. And the fact that consistency is hard. Like you can put all the thinking into the best objective, but then you drop it, right? So how do you stay consistent and show up every single week? So that's the human element that comes up and that comes in, and it's the human partnership. You get an accountability partner or two that are working on their own objectives. And then we have this thing that it's called your kiwis.
Kiwis, nice.
which is one of the favorite things for people. And Kiwis are key wellness indicators. So you choose 3 things in your life that help you see when you're about to lose your mind, and you track those 2 on a weekly basis, and people really like that. So it's a very simple idea. It's a little bit of structure and human partnership to help you stay consistent and move forward with your projects. One of the main, when I was managing this team, for me, OKRs were a way of coordinating people behind the same goals. Working on my own, OKRs took on a different function, and it was more about helping me focus, because now I had 1,000 things going on.
Right.
And I needed to be very clear on like, what is the change that is important over the next 3 months. So OKRs became much more about gaining focus than coordination. And that's what I work. That's what a lot of people that go through Hello Heron do, right? It's like I force them to be like, hey, out of the 1,000 things you're doing, what is the change that matters over the next 3 months? You'll keep on doing all these things. The reason why, I don't know, do you remember seeing herons in Miami? I don't know if,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, so,
yes.
So everyone else, like, Google a heron. It's this bird that is like big and it's still in the water and does not move. It can be in the water for the longest time without moving, and it moves in like super slow motion until it sees a fish. And when it sees a fish, it's like fierce. It pulls baby alligators out of the water. I mean, this bird does not, does not joke around.
Yeah.
In fact, Beckham chose the heron as a symbol for AC Miami, the football team, because of their fierceness.
Nice.
So the reason why I chose Heron for this accountability platform is that with OKRs, it's much more about this practice of stopping to think and being calm and thinking about what is important and being smart. And it's less about this fretting behind our tasks, like the hamster on the wheel, right? Like, we feel productive when we're doing 1,000 things, even though most of the things that we do don't even work, or like they're not that important. So I went all around, but that's what Heron is: accountability, a different stance on what it means to be productive, and a mix of really good thinking with like being a human being.
Right. Super important. I think the connection of like human and tech in any way is like so crucial. And I think the way that you put it, so bringing the human side to a new way of thinking about, your goals, I think is really unique, because when when I think about OKRs, I used to only think about them for like work, right? And so like when you think about your own, we all have goals personally. We want to, be a better leader, or get better at tennis, or whatever it is. And so like I think applying the same thinking, sometimes it's hard for us to kind of like look at our work, what we're doing at work, and then also be like, oh yeah, we can also do that over here, like for our personal life. So I think it's great that you're kind of, you're using that human aspect and mixing that in with the structure of a framework. And if you were to, meet somebody on the street who had no idea what OKRs were, and you had to like sort of break it down in its most like simple form, how would you sort of like explain it to them so that they walk out of that meeting, that like short chat, and they're like, I want to do that. That sounds great. Because sometimes I have trouble explaining what OKRs are to people in a non like technical ish way. So curious, like I'm sure you've done it many, many times. So curious how you do it.
And it's hard to do the pitch for the idea of OKRs, because it is so simple, and it's misleading. It's misleading in its simplicity, because applying it is not that easy, right? But so the simple explanation, the simple idea is that OKRs is a way of thinking about what you'll do, and that instead of defining what you do as your goals, you go one step further and you say, what am I hoping to achieve? And you allow that to drive your execution. So for example, if you might have someone that has a goal of launching an Instagram campaign or getting on social media, and they'll write that as their goal. I would say that's not your goal. That's what you'll do. how will you know that you're being successful? What are you hoping to achieve? Oh, well, I want, 5,000 followers. Okay, that is part of your OKR, 5,000 followers. Now, what you end up doing to get them, we don't know. You'll have to try different things. You might do stories, reels. I'm still discovering Instagram, right? Like
It's complicated.
1,000 posts, collaborations.
Right.
You'll innovate until you get the result you're looking for. So that's OKRs in a nutshell. It's going a step further from our plans and defining what success looks like.
I love that. I understood it clearly. So
okay.
Thank you. That was great. And I wanted to ask you, so you have Hello Heron. That seems like your main focus right now. Where do you see it going in the next few months, year, 2 years? What's like your bigger goal around that?
Yeah. Man, I didn't even make time to ask myself that question because
I don't either.
Survival. Yeah. That's like in my mind.
You're like, I'll just do whatever it takes.
Survival.
Yep.
So right now, so I'll tell you a little bit about my journey. It's the first time I do something on my own, and I split my time into things. I do consulting for companies launching OKRs. That's what keeps me financially stable while I do Heron on the side. My biggest focus with Heron over the next 3 months is marketing.
Nice.
Is marketing. I need to learn, how do I talk about this in a way that resonates with people? I know it works because I have users, I see the change, but what I haven't figured out yet is, how do I reach out? How can the website convert people on its own so that this can grow? And so that's my focus, is learning about marketing, which I don't know anything about, learning about marketing, and then next to that, improving the product. So once I know that, okay, I found the right market fit, this has traction, now I need to build a better app, because the app that I have, I built it myself and I'm not a technical person. So that should give you an indication of how MVP-ish it is.
It's great. Right? Hey, for your first thing, MVP is the way to go. If you have to do things manually, that is okay. You're doing the right way.
I literally do videos to help people log in because it's so bad. So, but I need to figure out the marketing part before I build a better product. So that's a little bit of where I am.
Awesome. I'm sorry, my dog is barking in the background, so it's great. We'll just give him a few minutes. Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. No, that's amazing. And I think so many founders today, they're able to do that. Like, they feel very empowered to like build a V1 and an MVP like at its bare bones. And that's so important, because that's the best way to get feedback from users. And like you said, you're focusing on marketing, you're focusing on kind of finding the market fit, who your users are, like what your niche is. And so right now, you spending at least no money on building a V1, and really using the time to just do research. I think that's awesome. And what you'll get is just a ton of feedback from folks on like, hey, we love this, I would like to see this. And so that starts to build out your roadmap, which is awesome as well. But yeah, in terms of marketing is a big one. I'm not strong at marketing either, so I feel you there.
Me too. But I think the other thing about the experience of being a founder is that for me, it's like, there are all these things I know nothing about, and therefore I like judgment. Like, I thought branding was a big exercise, right? It was choosing some colors. No, it's not. So, and now I'm in marketing with this discovery of like, oh yeah, you need to talk in a way that people understand.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I never thought about it because I don't have that training. So it's almost like everywhere I go with Heron, I feel a little bit like a toddler. Yeah. Like I'm humbling because I'm like, I don't know, right?
I think a big part of it is accepting that you don't know. And I think a lot of us, hopefully as founders, know that we don't know a lot of things. And I think part of that, it makes it exciting, right? Like whatever you come into next, you're like, cool, I can learn something new. And that's whether, even with my product, like if it fails today, like I have so much more knowledge in the past year that I've been working on it than I did the year before that. And it's insane, like how much you see yourself just like progressing over time and just developing yourself as a person, but also as like somebody who's starting a solution and like all that comes with starting a business, right? So I think you're on the right track for sure. And Heron seems great as a product. So I think it's great that you're working on it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think so. For me, the other thing is for me, it's a lack of judgment, right? Because I know I don't know all these things,
Yeah.
and I know that but it's hard to know which one do I solve for first,
Yeah.
because I don't have judgment on like what. So I found that finding a good mentor, someone you can go to, that's usually helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great. I mean, this is really good as love talking to you and love learning more about Heron and your background. If folks want to check out Heron and want to sign up, get started with some OKRs for the next 3 months, where can they go do that? And then also where can they go just check out your work online, whether it's social media or a blog?
Yes, so you can go to helloheron.com, and then if you go to pricing or start now, it takes you to the beta page where subscription. Sign up for beta, and then I will help you get logged in. So that's one thing. That's how to get started. The other one is that I'm doing some webinars now where I train people on doing OKRs. So it's 1 hour and it's free because thinking is free. So it should be available to everyone. So you'll find that in helloheron.com, access to the Calendly link for the webinar, because it's a good time because we're about to go into Q2. So I'm keeping the 3 month cadence on goals because I experimented with 1 month and longer, and 3 months it seems like the sweet spot. So subscribe to beta and I'll get you access to the app. I'll make your trial longer so you can really try it. Sign up for a webinar. That's another way of like just making space to think and think differently. And then follow me on hello_Heron on Instagram. Perfect. I started a month ago posting, so I need encouragement because
yes, please go follow. Please go follow Hello Heron's Instagram account, and then we'll leave links to everything you've mentioned in the notes of this video. So we'll leave a link to Hello Heron, how to sign up to the beta, and also your webinars. I think those webinars are going to be extremely useful if you have never ever heard of OKRs. Like, you need to get that webinar this month. This month or next month is it happening?
It's happening, and I'm doing it for the next couple of weeks.
Oh, sweet. Awesome.
On Thursdays.
Awesome. Perfect.
And Thursdays afternoons and Saturday morning. And it's more like a workshop. You'll walk out of there with an OKR that is 70% done. That's awesome. And I'll help you finish it. So awesome. So I'll give you the link for that.
I love it. Yeah. I love that. I'll share everything with the Cafecito community, and I'll share everything as well on social media. So hopefully some of our community members can go use Hello Heron, because I think a lot of our folks, like I mentioned earlier, entrepreneurs and freelancers, like very much like solo self-managing, right, their time and their projects. So I think this is going to be a huge add to just their day-to-day routines for sure.
The biggest transformation for people with OKR, especially when they're self-managing and managing 1,000 things, is that when they come in, they don't believe me that they'll walk out with just one objective that will be the right one. And they walk out with just one, because you're one person, you need to focus. Right. So the webinar I walk you step by step on how to find that focus out of the zillion things you have going on. So it brings so much relief and clarity.
For sure. I'll probably be there, honestly, now that you mention it. So.
Come. It's also super new. I started last week, so I need all the feedback I can get. So the more, the merrier.
Awesome. Well, really great having you on. And thank you for spending the last like 20-25 minutes with me. It was great, and great getting to know you as well.
Irma, a pleasure. And if anyone is in Miami, we can have a real cafecito.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Irma.